Well, hey everybody, welcome to Ask a Pastor, and this is our first episode where we'll be answering a question anonymously submitted through our form online. The question is, do you believe that the Bible is meant to be taken literally? And the example that's drawn here is of Jonah, the story of Jonah and the whale. If you do not think it's meant to be taken literally, how do you tell the difference between figurative story meant to prove a point and something that actually happened? Well, this is a fantastic question to begin with. Also, not an easy question. The answer to it in simple terms is yes and no, or no and yes. Is the Bible meant to be taken literally? We have to remember that the Bible is not just one thing, but is actually a collection of books. It's better to think of the Bible as a library rather than a single book. Just like in a library, there are different sections, there are different categories, genres, and whenever we're reading scripture, we have the responsibility of trying to figure out what genre we're reading. There are places in scripture. For example, when Jesus says, love your enemies, I don't think he means that to be taken figuratively. Not just a kind of abstract idea of enemies, but he literally wants us to find ways to love the people that normally would threaten us. So that's an example I would say, take that literally. When it talks about God having wings, for example, or when it compares God to a chicken, which happens in Scripture, I don't think it's meant to be taken literally. Otherwise, you're going to have a very different perspective on eating at Popeye's Chicken or having a chicken sandwich at Jack in the Box. So obviously, we're taking that figuratively. And so a story like Jonah, we have to determine what the genre really is. And in that case, it's prophecy. It's a story of a prophet. And if you're familiar with that genre, you'll probably discover that there's lots of hyperbole and metaphor used throughout those stories. I don't personally take it to be a big deal to worry about whether or not the story of Jonah actually happened, in order for me to understand that it's true. What Jonah tells us about who God is, who Jonah is, what's happening in that story, is not dependent on it being a literal historical story. So the larger question, should the Bible be taken literally, depends on what the Bible is actually trying to tell us. What is the Bible in the particular story that you're reading, the particular book you're reading, trying to communicate about who God is, what human beings are supposed to do, what the world is supposed to be like? And in the book of Jonah, for example, we learn that God is a God of mercy, a God of grace, a God who sends Jonah to the people of Nineveh, not so that they will be destroyed, but so that they will be redeemed. And so we're given a picture of a God who loves, who extends mercy, who forgives. I think that's true. And my faith in that reality, in that truth, does not hinge on whether or not that story literally happened. I hope that helps with your question. That's my perspective. Again, not the final perspective, but the answer is always, in this case, yes and no. I hope that if you have more questions, you'll feel free to submit them here and get a response from a pastor on your questions about faith, life, or whatever else. So.